Johannesburg, known informally as Jozi, is one of the 50 largest urban areas in the world. Born as a crude mining town, the city founded the other mining clusters like the Northwest, Limpopo and Mpumalanga. It now boasts a population size of over 5 million. Since the global financial crisis, the city has been declining in GDP per capita, reflecting South Africa's own tardy recovery from the global financial crisis. Johannesburg is the city with the greatest inequalities in domestic incomes and wealth, but remains a key contributor to Gauteng and South Africa's economy. According to the research commissioned by the City of Johannesburg, the city's unemployment rate has increased in recent years and hovers around 25%, with youth unemployment estimated to be more than 30%. The city's economic priorities are firstly to grow by more than 5%, to reduce unemployment by 5% by 2021. Now, under Mayor Herman Mashaba, there was a focus on the improvement of the inner city and public safety, financial stability, a smart city program, and the fight against corruption were some of Mashaba's aims during his time as mayor, which obviously comes to an end on the 27th of November. Let's get more on this now. Dr. Crispin Oliver joins me in studio. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Did Mashaba succeed, particularly when it came to financial stability of the city of Johannesburg?
Hi, Nzinga. Well, look, I think he's had a mixed legacy, and we clearly are going to be poring over and dissecting his legacy over the months to come. And as you said, he did some really great things around trying to turn around the inner city. He certainly did try and crack down on corruption. He set up this fraud and investigatory group services division. But there are a couple of things about his legacy that are perturbing, and particularly the problematic nature of the coalition agreement that he got into with the EFF and a number of other smaller parties. And as part of the deals that were done to keep that coalition together, he gave groups like the EFF a wide influence over a lot of the big senior management appointments in the city. There were allegations, particularly Amabongani did this investigation into the fleet management tender. It looks on the face of it to have been a corrupt award of contract to this group AfriRent, who paid a big kickback to a company linked to the EFF called Mahuna. So that was pretty untoward. The chief operating officer who's been appointed under Mashaba for Joburg used to be the head of department for transport in Limpopo when Malema was pushing his on-point engineering contract and all of that corruption was taking place. So, there's some really worrying things. But by far the biggest problem that Joburg faces is that its financial health has been deteriorating. I listened to Mashaba's announcement yesterday about this 5 billion cash reserve. He's leaving the city in the best financial position ever. That's not correct. City of Joburg had, about 4 years ago, those kinds of reserves. And they've been dropping each year, slowly going down. 2019, the cash reserves in Joburg were 1.7 billion. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but it covers only about half a month's operating expenditure. And normally a city is meant to have at least 3 months of operating expenditure. Worse, the budget that the city of Joburg passed for 2019-20, Treasury in their assessment said that there's a deficit in that budget of 3.5 billion. So if they don't do something radical, they're going to lose another 3.5 billion, and they're going to be bankrupt or insolvent by the end of this financial year.
Okay, I know you've spoken about the allegations that have come out in the media, and perhaps if that's playing a role in terms of how Herman Mashaba allocated positions and the like. My understanding is that there's been no, perhaps, finality to those allegations. They haven't moved beyond the realm of that. And I want to stay on that and talk about the EFF in particular. Their positions on insourcing is one of the reasons that they laud Mashaba and they say that they support him.
Yeah.
How much of a role does policy of where a mayor comes from, like he comes from the DA, together with the kind of lobbying that takes place with political parties, influence what happens in a city and ultimately what happens to its finances and residents?
Yes, I mean, look, we've entered, after the 2016 local government elections, we've entered into a period of coalition governments in our big cities. And actually that's a good thing. You know, politics is much more competitive, and there are real alternatives to what used to be, you know, ANC dominance in all the major cities. So I think it's a good thing that parties compete. They compete on ideas and programs. And sometimes you don't get an outright winner, and parties have to collaborate with each other. There's nothing wrong with that. But the issue is in putting together coalitions at a city level, on what do you base them? Are they coalitions united around a set of principles, a set of common agreed principles, or are they opportunistic coalitions that are really united around how we carve up the city and extract rent from different parts of the city? And, you know, I have to say, sadly, the Mashaba regime, in my opinion, was a rent-seeking coalition. I think it was based on the allocation of big rents to various coalition partners. And we saw that in terms of the deals the EFF was doing. We saw that in terms of the white anting of the Joburg Roads Agency under this IFP, MMC, and Sipho Chabalala, who was the chair of the JRA. So, you know, I think Joburg, we obviously don't have an outright winner. The ANC is the largest party, the DA is the second largest. I know that there's a desperate scramble now to find a mayor. And the question is, are the parties mature enough to re-establish this coalition based on a set of principles?
Okay. There's been questions and the word corruption, allegations from all sides, from Herman Mashaba's side, when it comes to the ANC, in particular him and Lebogang Maile having spat about what took place in Alexandra when it came to the renewal of Alexandra. It appears that there is much more happening in the background when it comes to how local government operates and the influence that the mayor has. Then how, as a resident of Johannesburg or someone watching, do you determine who's actually correct, where the facts are in the midst of allegations, he said, she said, they said?
Yeah, so, I mean, everyone throws shade. You need to just accept that. And you're all going to be presented with various allegations. So you've got to dig into the allegations and try and establish the facts for yourself. And certainly no party can claim to have been completely clean. We had during the ANC's period, you know, a number of scandals around Regiment's Capital. You know, they were managing the sinking fund in Joburg. There were allegations of dodgy dealings around the billing crisis. Some people said that the billing crisis was deliberately being kept chaotic so that people could be making deals on the side with ratepayers to reduce their rates and service charges. So, you know, I think, you know, if we're going to be honest about corruption took place under both regimes. In some instances, it seemed to have improved. So, like the property deals that were being done, the evidence I've had is that under Mashaba, in fact, those deals became more difficult to do. So a lot of the developers that I know were, you know, passing backhanders to get planning approval. They complained that was a little bit more difficult to do under Mashaba. So I'll give them credit for that. But equally, you know, I think the Bongani investigation, I looked really carefully at it. You know, it's untoward. Something is extremely fishy around that.
Dr. Crispin Olver joining me in studio. They're talking about the state of finances of the City of Johannesburg and more. Now, after a year-long investigation, research organisation Open Secrets will launch its findings on wrongdoing in the pension fund industry. Tonight on The Bottom Line on the SABC News channel, Francis Hurd takes a look at the investigation which reveals that more than 40 billion rand owed to more than 4 million people remains unpaid and that industry players profit from this money. It also shows that more than 6,500 pension funds were cancelled unlawfully, causing thousands of families to suffer. Don't miss the bottom line tonight at 6:30 p.m. on the SABC News channel. More business news after the break. Do stay with us on Point.